Hey guys, so since making my DIY flying saucer wheel, a load of you have been requesting that I make a DIY upright wheel or traditional style wheel. So I have thought through a few different processes and I have come up with the most simple one that I could think of so that absolutely anybody can make this. You don't need to have any handiness skills, you don't need to have any experience with DIY, anybody can make this. All you have to be able to do is press a button on a drill. And I think most people can do that. So I'm going to show you what you need for this and then we're going to get on with it. As already mentioned, you're going to need a drill, although strictly speaking you may not have to use this. Really all you need is a screwdriver, but this does make life a little easier, so I would suggest having one. You'll need 3 strips of wood and I'll put the measurements for these on screen now. You need 1 long bolt, 2 medium-sized screws and 2 nuts that fit the bolt. And finally you need a circular container. Now it can be a plastic container like this one, it could be a metal tin if you wanted, it doesn't really matter what it's made from, it just needs to be deep enough so that your hamster can run on it, because this is obviously going to be the wheel itself. And you need to make sure that it has the same diameter as the appropriate wheel size for your hamster. So this is an 8-inch tub and this is suitable for all species of dwarf hamster and Chinese hamster. It's also suitable for smaller Syrian hamsters. For larger Syrian hamsters you might need an 11 or 12-inch tub, and for Roborovskis you can usually get away with 6.5 inches. We're going to begin by building the stand for the wheel. This will allow your wheel to stand absolutely anywhere in your hamster's cage or in their playpen or wherever you want to put it. So we're going to start by taking one of the longer pieces and the shorter piece. I'm just going to put this one to the side for now. And these are going to create the foot for the stand. This is what balances the whole thing. So we're just going to arrange this in a simple T shape, so you're just going to line them up like that, and you're going to screw one of the screws in from this side so that it goes into the other piece of wood and holds it in place. Now I have already drilled a hole in this bit of my wood and a little hole in this bit as well, just to make my life easier, but really you don't necessarily have to do that. Like I say, it's just to make my life a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and screw that in so that these two are attached. So you have your foot, that's finished, and that is looking lovely, and now you need to join on the bit where the wheel is going to attach to. Now you'll notice this little hole here, just ignore that for a second, I will talk about that in a moment, but I'm just going to attach this in the exact same way. I've drilled a little hole through there to make things easier, and I'm just going to put this screw in from the bottom, going up into this piece of wood to hold it in place. So that's your stand, finished and looking lovely, and one thing I will note is that on the bottom I have made sure to use a flat-headed screw rather than a round-headed screw. And that's important because if I'd used a round-headed screw then this wouldn't be flat and smooth, which would mean when I put it down it would rock and be a little bit awkward. So do try and use a flat-headed screw at least on that bottom one, doesn't matter so much for the back. So we're going to put the stand aside for a second and get to work prepping the wheel itself. Now the first thing I'm going to do is take this lid away because I don't need it. You may want to build an enclosed wheel where you just cut a few doorways in this. That's completely up to you if you trust your hamster with it. I just want an open wheel, a nice simple one like this though. And you'll see at the back there I have drilled a hole, and this is where the axle for the wheel is going to go. Very easy to drill a hole in plastic, you can use any drill bit, just make sure you drill very, very slowly, don't put too much pressure on it, otherwise you will crack the plastic, so be very careful with that. If your hamster has issues with grip when they're running, you could add a load of lolly sticks inside, just glue them in, just like we did on the flying saucer wheel, to provide a little grip for them to run with. We're going to bring the stand back now, because once you've drilled that hole in your wheel, you're going to line it up on your stand where you want it to be. And where the hole in your wheel is, you're going to make a little dot with a pen on the wood, and then you're just going to drill a hole through there, making sure it's big enough for your bolt to fit through. That's very important. If it's not big enough, your wheel isn't going to turn. Then we're going to take the bolt, I'm just going to pop it through the hole in the wheel. You could throw a few washers on here if you wanted to, but I am trying to keep this very simple with as few materials as possible. And then I'm going to add on one of the nuts, and just screw it all the way down to the bottom. And one thing I'm going to make sure I don't do is tie it too tightly to the wheel. And that will make sense in a moment. So I'm just going to screw it down to the end. Keep screwing. And I do want it to be close to the wheel, otherwise it won't be stable. but you should be able to hold the bolt and spin the wheel with ease. Next, you're going to take the bolt and you're going to push it with the wheel through the hole on the stand. Now, you're going to push it right in so it's tight and close to that first nut, and then you're going to take your second nut, you're going to screw that on, and you're going to make sure that this one is tight. And the reason you're going to do that is so that both nuts are gripping onto this. That will keep the bolt in place, and that will allow your wheel to spin smoothly, this is the important bit, without unscrewing the nuts. If you do it the wrong way around, if you tighten it on this and leave it loose on the stand, then when your hamster runs in the wheel, they will unscrew the nuts and the whole thing will just eventually fall to pieces. So make sure, loose on the wheel, tight on the stand. And that's it, your traditional style wheel is done. It's very easy for your hamster to run in. As you can hear, it is not silent, but it's also not super loud. It doesn't rattle, it just makes a scraping sound. Perhaps there are ways of getting around that because it is only scraping on the wood. So I'm sure you could figure out a way to fix that if it was a big issue for you. For me personally, I don't mind the sound. So I'm going to give this to Potassium and see what he thinks of it. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. You can also share this video with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!